This is the ballad of a guy named Jackalope Jim. He was the West's quickest draw.
Welcome, viewers, to Jackalope Junction television, and we're talking about the birth of, where is he? The birth of Jackalope Junction, right there. My name is Russ, the Big Guy, and it's my privilege to introduce to you the founder and the visionary behind Jackalope Junction, the world's first steampunk Western story park, and he's also the CEO of Acorn Entertainment Group Incorporated. That's a long one. This is even longer. Get ready. A transmedia storytelling and themed entertainment design company. Welcome, Greg Shumsky. Greg Shumsky, here he is.
Hi, guys.
Ta-da!
Hey.
Anyways, it's good to be back. I'm glad you're smiling. I know that it's been a while since we recorded an episode of the birth of Jackalope Junction. You were very patient with me. I got COVID-19, and the actual time that I was laying in bed, it wasn't all that long, but this long COVID is real, and it really messed up my brain. I've been so lethargic and I'm not depressed. It's just a weird thing, and I feel like emotionally raw. It's really messed up my brain a little bit, and I haven't wanted to do anything. I haven't wanted to work.
Well, at least you didn't. Did you lose your taste or your smell at all?
I did for a very short period of time. My taste got messed up. It didn't matter too much to me at the time because I was just so lethargic. I didn't want to do anything. I just laid on the bed. I didn't even want to watch television. I couldn't concentrate on it, and I wasn't eating. I lost 10 pounds, and I realized that I wasn't eating, so I forced myself to start to eat a little bit every day, and everything tasted like salt.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, it's all I could taste. So eventually I had a little bit of you taste a little bit of vinegar on something and a little bit of sweet. And ironically, I guess is the right word. One of my favorite things to eat is chocolate, and that still tasted great. So
yeah, right.
It was weird. I could taste the chocolate and not just sweetness. I could taste the actual flavor of chocolate. So I don't really understand it, but eventually it all came back, and I think it's normal now. My daughter got sick when we both got infected at the same concert, and she is 24, and she didn't really start to show symptoms until several days after I did. But for her, she isolated herself, but she just had a great time. She's 24. She was talking to her friends and watching television and laughing and giggling, and she got a few headaches, but she lost her taste and has not gotten it back yet.
Wow.
So lost your taste, I guess. I don't really know how to describe it.
The sucky part is being a foodie and not being able to taste stuff. It's like, why don't I even exist anymore? Because if you can't taste really good things, it just, although like you said, chocolate I could taste.
Okay, it was the same for you then, yeah.
Chocolate, yeah. I'd make myself a coffee with mocha and I was good to go. So, yeah.
So are you considering yourself a foodie? Is that it?
I am a bit of a foodie, yeah.
Okay, yeah, my wife as well.
Yeah, that's, one of the big things with the park that I want to do different is, you see Disneyland, which is great, doing these food festivals, or Disney World doing these food and wine festivals, or like Disneyland does a little sampler things with these different foods they're trying out, which is awesome. I think that's great. It's expensive, I guess, to sign up for that, and it's not an everyday occurrence. Now, some of the restaurants at Disneyland I love. Plaza Inn, we eat there because it's all things considered, it's affordable compared to eating anywhere outside of the park. And you get a lot of food. You could get you get fried chicken, or you could get grilled chicken, or rotisserie chicken. You get the green beans, the mashed potatoes, and it's all really good, hearty stuff. Or they have the pot roast or meatloaf or something like that. Yeah. I love it. It's great. Plaza Inn's great. And then the other place we like to eat, that the kids and I will eat when we eat in the park, is the French Market over by the Haunted Mansion. And that's the same thing. Great food. You get not a huge portion, but enough. And it's, I don't know, 15 or 16 bucks, which nowadays, if you go anywhere, everything is 15 or 16 or 20 bucks, which is nuts. And as people are coming back to work and wanting to get paid more money for a literally a unskilled labor job, and they want 18 an hour. Well, now I went to Burger King the other day. I was going to get something from Burger King, and I really wanted a Whopper, but it was $8 for a Whopper, just the Whopper.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, I'll have to buy a Whopper Junior because
a Whopper doesn't quite seem like it's worth $8, does it?
I'm not paying $8 for a dumb Whopper. I mean, holy cow. I mean, unless it's the best Whopper anybody's ever made, it's like, the squished, dried out patty thing. It's like,
don't leave it in the wrapper any longer than you have to. It steams itself.
I know. So
steams itself into a little
deflated.
A little cow plop.
Right. So we're gonna have food at the park.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have several really cool food options at the park. One is the main saloon restaurant, kind of like the Golden Horseshoe, but it's gonna be sit down, waiter, waitress service.
Perfect.
We're gonna have piano playing. We're gonna have some live entertainment. We're gonna have amazing food. I'm working with a friend of mine who is he's a 4-star chef, actually, that trained at the Cordon Bleu School of Culinary Arts or whatever it is.
Yeah.
French guy, Fabrice, amazing cook. He's gonna make the whole menu. We're gonna work with. Actually, we are working with. We're talking to. We're not working with them yet, but we're talking to the folks that own the Texas Roadhouse chain of restaurants, and they have great food. Their pricing structure is fantastic. We don't want people to go, okay, when you go to a regular restaurant, you pay this much. When you go to a theme park, you pay this much.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're going to keep it the same in line with what you pay outside the park. So we're talking to Texas Roadhouse. They're really excited about working with us. They're going to do all that and maintain the whole kitchen. And
they're very popular here in upstate New York. We have one in our town. Yeah.
Yeah. They have several different restaurants in their family, and they're really great folks. Then we're going to have a pizza place, because you got to have a pizza place for kids that want pizza.
Yeah.
And we're going to do really top notch. It's not going to be Chuck E. Cheese, although Chuck E. Cheese, I'm not knocking. It's not a bad pizza.
I like it. I like their salad bar, and it's an excuse to take the kids.
And Chuck E. Cheese has really upped their game since they got their new CEO.
Yeah.
The whole pizza game has really been, and I need to go by sometime and try it, but they've really upped their game with their pizza. If I could get Chuck E. Cheese or some other pizza place to get involved, that'd be great. Otherwise, we'll do it ourselves. It doesn't really matter. And then we'll have the quick serve picnic place, which is Paula Pig's, which is now going to be a cottage out by this little small stage out in the picnic area. And there's a whole story behind Paula Pig now, and how her and her husband would put together these big get-togethers at their house. And so we're celebrating that, and Paula Pig will be there doing that. And part of the story is that her husband was one of the miners that was lost during the big mine during the cave-in when it was Mighty Oak Springs. And then we'll have Senior Mole's TNT barrel, his big giant tacos and tamales powder keg taco shop. Featuring San Diego style Mexican food, which is the best Mexican food ever.
Looking forward to it.
Yes. So it's gonna be awesome.
I mean, our Americanized, tacos up here are probably not that good. From the travel that I've done with my musician daughter, we've traveled a bit along the coast in California, and then also down almost past. Let's see, what's the southern part past San Diego? Where's the island? Is that past you?
Coronado Island.
Yeah.
That's Coronado's in San Diego. That's
that's as far as we've gone, I think.
Okay, and then you head south into you hit San Ysidro, and then you hit the border, and you're in Tijuana.
Yeah, and then also Austin, Dallas, and Houston. Well, Austin and Dallas mostly, and the most around Austin at South by Southwest. So a lot of taco trucks.
That's all mostly Tex-Mex though. It's not quite the same. We have a friend. My wife has a friend who lives in Texas, and she comes back to San Diego 3 times or 4 times a year for Mexican food because she doesn't like the Mexican food in Texas. So that tells you a lot. But it's gonna be really, really great. We're gonna have a lot of we really want to do things different and make it. Oh, of course, we'll have barbecue too. We'll have a big barn with barbecue, and we really want to make it a place that people want to come back to.
Yeah.
Hey, honey, hey kids, what do you want for dinner? Well, let's go to Jackalope Junction and go have dinner there and hang out and have some fun, right? And Friday night, it's Friday, Saturday night date nights, and we're gonna make a lot of fun out of it, and have it where we're gonna make it where people really want to come back, not twice a year, but like almost every week if they can make it every week.
Yeah, they're going to be part of the family.
Right.
I think that's a nice thing. That's one of the nice features about having a business of this size, and that's privately owned, as well as that you're not being pressed by stockholders wanting their monthly profits, and having to sell the cheapest pizza possible, regardless of what it tastes like. So, and I think that as Jackalope Junction and as Acorn Entertainment grows, that, hopefully you'll be able to keep that spirit,
Well, and I was reading the other day about how one of the things they wanted to put in it's the Beauty and the Beast ride at Hong Kong Disneyland or Japan.
Yeah.
And it's really Tokyo Disneyland. It's really fantastic. And the amount of time these poor guys had to spend to get them to okay it and build it out. And it's a fantastic showpiece. I mean, it's just stunning. But they're telling me about all the politics that went on. And the beauty is we're not going to have the politics. What I say goes. If I say
that could be a great thing or not a good thing, Greg.
If I say I want a Matterhorn, I expect the guys to build a Matterhorn. Let's put it that way.
You better run it by somebody. You better, your wife or somebody.
Yeah, I'm gonna have my own Bob Gurr and say, Bob, I want a Matterhorn here. And that guy who's Bob Gurr for me is gonna go, okay, Bob, okay, Walt, or okay, Greg. And as I walk away, he's gonna mumble and everything like that behind my back and say, well, how are we gonna do this? But they'll figure it out. And that's and there are people in the industry that want to do that. They want to be told, I want this, build this, and they go, okay, let's figure it out and how to build it.
That's the joy right there, is everything's figure outable, and it's kind of the process is what makes it wonderful to be a human. Especially if you're a creative person, my gosh, or an entrepreneur, that's, it's not always reaching the goal. It's the whole process. It's that lifestyle. It's the way we live.
Right. And that's, I talked to a lot of people in Imagineering and stuff like that. And they're like, if we had someone that told us what they wanted, that we could just go ahead and do, that would make life so much easier and more fun versus having to come up with ideas for stuff. And if people have ideas for stuff, that's great. If somebody says to me, hey, Greg, I think we should have this or this or this, I will consider it. And I have, and I don't go, well, that's just dumb. But what I do say is, I think
it's okay if it's dumb.
I think in my head, that's dumb, but let me think about it.
Yeah.
I'll come back and say, you know what? That's let's figure out how we can make this work.
Yeah.
Or sometimes I'll come back and say, no, it doesn't fit in with what our culture is or what our mantra is for Jackalope.
Yeah.
And that's it takes me a little while to think about it and consider it and go, this really is going to happen, but this is great, or this is not so great. So, at the end of the day, it is what it is. And we're going to be able to get things done quickly, as long as there's the money for it. If not, I'll sell my DeLorean and we'll use it to build such and such, but the beauty of it is that everybody has a say, and everybody's input is considered along with everything else. So that's going to be the beauty of Jackalope Junction right there, is that it's smaller, we're more agile. It's not the politics. When I say either I approve it or I don't approve it. And then but there are things I'm going to want to have done that people are going to have to figure out how to make it happen. And that's why we are looking for working with now, and eventually looking for some of the best people that work for Imagineering and stuff like that, but really want to do something kind of bigger, not on a land scale, but bigger in the sense of this is all towards creating a story that really is going to affect a lot of people in general. And how does that, you throw in a water park, for instance. Well, why do you have the water park? It's not, gee, we need a water park because we need a water park because everybody else has a water park. No. It has to be thoughtfully crafted and considered before an attraction goes into Jackalope Junction. Who does it belong to? Why are they there? And what's their story? And is it just extra decoration, or is it actually part of the element of the storytelling? That's what's really what we're doing.
Yeah, the story.
Which a lot of parks don't really do. I mean, I get what they do for the sake of what they do, and that's all fine and dandy, and it works for them. But we're going to do things a little bit differently, and hopefully change, create a new era, a new culture. I did a LinkedIn article about the small parks and what small parks in general could be doing or should be doing. I think obviously it's a little self-serving because a lot of those things in there deal with what we're going to do without giving away giving away the secret sauce that we're going to be using to create Jackalope Junction. So,
well, a lot of people are very excited about it, and when they find out about it, they want to be involved, which really is telling, right? That really should let everybody else who's involved, and you as well, know that that the idea is sound and that it's, people are going to be attracted to it.
Yeah, and what's interesting is when I talk to people that are huge people in the industry, in the themed industry that have been in there forever, designers, licensing people, IP managers, etc. I tell them they want to help. I say, look, well, I still don't have a budget yet. I'm working on it, but unless I win the lottery this week or something like that, I just don't have a budget. But it doesn't matter to them. They're like, you know what? I don't care. I want to help this take off because they see it as being something more than anything that's ever been done or accomplished in the last 30 or 40 or 50 years, 30 or 40 years or whatever in the themed industry. So,
So have there been any major changes or any revolutions in the themed entertainment industry recently that might be part of Jackalope Junction in the future?
A lot of people are talking about virtual reality and augmented reality and stuff like that. We're not gonna do that. I want to stick to. We will use technology to the best we can to enhance the experience in general from behind the scenes to create a smooth user experience in general. But so
right now you don't have any plans of having people walking around with holding their cell phones out in front of them?
No, God, no.
It's interesting. I did just see something where some of that immersive augmented reality is now being presented without the use of any sort of device. So it's being presented in the environment, and I don't know what the technology is that's doing it, but the point of the article that I was reading was that no, you don't need goggles, you don't need a phone, you don't need anything. It's just you in the environment. And
go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that's it. That's I don't remember. I wish I had written down the name of the company or whatever, wherever it was being installed.
Disney. It's Disney.
Oh, okay.
So Disney Imagineering R&D came up with that. There's an article the other day about it.
Probably the same article.
How they're doing. Yep. So they are doing projection mapped, somehow augmented reality. within a physical space, so they know where to point the view. So it's where they're going to do it for dark rides at first. So that way they can control where the viewer looks, and then they can do magic, and you know, they can have stuff floating in air. So example would be Ray from you know, the holographic projection of Ray from Rise of the Resistance, right? From the ride. That's
gotcha. Yeah.
That's their augmented, that's projection on an invisible screen, and she's there, and it's really, really, really cool. I can't say I've seen it personally because I haven't yet. I've never had a chance to go on that ride. I can't wait to. I know they put a lot of work into it. I'm excited to go on it. It's just being able to afford to go to the park and get on the ride would be really, really cool. So they've come up with a way to do that on a bigger scale from what I've read, and they have a patent on it now. And we have Tom LeDuc working with us, who probably knows a lot more of how that's done. But I could see that being somehow, if we could figure out a way to implement that within the Mind Cave Adventure Tour.
Yeah.
That'd be cool if we could figure out a way to implement that within the maze that we're going to have that's in the Mind Caves. That'd be cool.
There's probably a lot of applications for it in your queuing, if there is any, and you know,
inside the Mind Caves would be great, and the queue, and then right, and then other things like that. There's no reason why we can't use that. I think it's really, really cool. So we'll see when we get there. Those are things to really consider having. I think that's because we really do want to keep people off this and holding their phone up and tap 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 or whatever like that. Of course, people are going to be clicky clicky, right? But I don't want to do the things like the fast pass. I don't want to do the reserve your seat at the restaurant. We're going to keep it to a limited number of folks in the park, whether we're 15 or 20 acres. We'll keep it around a nice 3,000 people. That's a lot of people we get in a day. That helps pay the bills, but it doesn't. But at the same time, you get time to sit at the restaurant, you know, and there's lots of eating options. So you're not packing this place in or packing this in or packing this in.
Yeah.
There's not long 2, 3, 4 hour lines, etc. I hope.
Yeah. I know we had talked about that in the past. Hey, well, last time we recorded an episode, we ended talking about some of the characters. I know that you had introduced Senior Mole, and we were talking about 1885 when the town was rebuilt. Do you want to pick up on that and talk a little bit about some of the, you know, the backstory and some of the things that were happening?
Sure. We're talking about Senior Mole.
I think we had just introduced him at that point.
Oh yeah. So Senior Mole is an interesting guy. He came to the town originally in the 1850s, roughly, when it was Mighty Oak Springs. And so Mighty Oak Springs, as I had mentioned before, was this mining town. It really started out pretty small with typical clapboard type buildings, but they had unlike the other mining operations in the area, or typically in Arizona or California. Although in California we do have, you know, people think of mines, they think of silver mines, they think of gold mines. Well, here in California and in Arizona, there were gem mines as well. So this is a gem mining operation, and they would, and typically the gem mining here would be quartz or tourmaline or whatever else. Lots of neat different things. And our town, Mighty Oak Springs at the time, was mining these different gems with different physical properties to them, like power or light or energy, for weapons, and so on and so forth. And
were they utilizing them there at that time?
Yes, they were. So they were utilizing them in the town. So the town was powered by the red gems.
Gotcha.
All the lighting fixtures in the town were the yellow gems being got power from the red gems that were put in these big canisters that ran power around the park to the town, to different things. The green gems were used a little bit, not really for weapons at the time, but they were being used. And then they didn't know about the time crystals. Obviously, that was never discovered until the big mining accident. I'll get into that in a minute. And then there are blue gems that they couldn't quite figure out what to do with the blue gems. So nevertheless, they're mining, selling them to both sides of the Civil War effort, making a ton of money. Town gets built up, brick buildings, Victorian, beautiful, so on and so forth. The Senior Mole becomes the foreman of the mines. He's a kind-hearted little chap, and the town founders and the town fathers want more production, and they've never had an accident. So this traveling salesman comes along with the robot, and sells them a couple robots. One is a mining robot, one is a janitor robot. They're like, well, he goes, well, if you buy this mining robot, I'll throw in this janitor robot for free to help keep the town nice and clean. And they're like,
so is this where the steampunk ideas start to come into it?
yeah, we already have the kind of steampunk stuff going on already, and the whole universe is kind of steampunk in and of itself anyway.
Okay.
This town is more powered by the properties of the gem, so it's an alternate form of energy in general.
And the robots as well.
Yeah, the robot is he is steam powered, but they find a way to convert him to run on the red gems. So he's running on red gems.
Yeah.
So they have the robot in there working the mines with them, and Mole's telling them, look, we cannot push the guys any harder, blah, blah, blah. We've never had an accident, and I don't want there to be an accident. Well, so they're in there, and they go to a part of the mines that haven't been explored yet, the caves, and the robot says it's all clear, and he does some drilling and this and this and this, and gives them the all clear, and they decide to blast. Well, there's Mole, the robot. Well, the Mole's not even there, but there's Mole goes back to check on something. There's the robot. There's 11 miners there, and nearby in the caves happen to be a couple kids that are playing in there. A young boy and girl are in the caves playing as well, who belong to Mr. Ma and Pa Gertie. They're the children of Ma and Pa Gertie from the general store. So anyway. They blast, big cave-in happens, and the robot gets crushed somewhat. Everybody else in the mines gets out, except those 11 miners don't get out, and they go in, and the children don't get out either. And what happens though is when that explosion happens, it exposes a whole room of time crystals that they had never seen before. Well, the explosion activates the time crystals, and what happens from there, we really don't know. But they go after the dust settles, they do a rescue effort to go find the miners, and they can't find their bodies, and they can't find them. There's no trace of the miners or the children. They're completely gone. They don't know what happened to them. They as far as they know, they're dead. So the mines shut down. Mole is beside himself now. He cannot come to grips with the loss of his friends. Paula Pig's husband was one of the miners that went missing. So there's just this sadness that overcomes the town. And eventually they feel that it's cursed because they can't find the miners. So almost, and then Shotgun Sally, her fiance is one of the 11 miners. He's gone. They were betrothed to each other, and their wedding was only a week away. And pretty much everybody leaves the town. It's not producing anymore. There's no more income. A lot of people feel it's cursed. They leave. Senior Mole decides to stay behind and keep looking for the missing people, and a few other people stay behind. The Gerties stay behind, Shotgun Sally stays behind, and Paula Pig are the ones that stay behind. And then what happens is Mole, years go by, 20 years go by, before Jackalope Jim shows up. Jackalope Jim is 25 years old now, and he shows up and decides to check the town out and sees a lot of potential in it. And he goes to explore. He makes his way to the backcountry where the caves are because he's heard about this town a little bit and decides to explore the caves. And as he does, he runs into Senior Mole. And at first, they don't do so well, but they become friends. And the other people in the town just kind of show up out of nowhere, and they really, the people that stay behind help them clean it up, and they clean it up, and they decide to rebuild it as Jackalope Junction, and there you have it. So Mole is kind of based on a few people that I've been blessed with in my life. There's a couple guys that work for my dad. My dad was in paving and grading as a general contractor, and there's a couple gentlemen, Mexican guys, that worked for my dad that were really, really warm-hearted, great, humble fellas. But the other person that it's kind of based off of is my wife's grandfather, her grandpa Tony, who was originally he was a butcher, and eventually bought houses to rent and made a pretty good living for himself. But he never flaunted it. He had money and he never flaunted it. And he was just he just loved everybody, and that's what Mole is kind of. He's this really warm-hearted little fella that just is willing to give everybody a chance. So that's kind of Senior Mole, Antonio Mole. So
hey, that's really good. We got introduced to a few of the characters that have their own stories, their own connection to the mine, their own connection to the things that might happen in the future as a result of the disappearance of those miners. I know we had talked briefly about that there were 13 spirits maybe. Came in the future.
Yeah, well, we talked about it a little bit. We don't know what happened to them, but every Halloween they show up around the town in the backcountry.
We should talk about those on the next episode. What do you say?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
All right. Well, I think that brings us to the end of this episode. I want to thank everybody for tuning in, for watching. It's we get great pleasure out of telling the story of Jackalope Junction and all the characters that are involved with it, and hope to give you make you feel like you're part of the family, like you're part of the Jackalope Junction family. And then when the park opens, you'll already know a little bit about what's going on, right? And you also hopefully by then you'll have seen the animated show, and your kids will be reading Jackalope Junction books. I guess that's part of the plan.
The plan. Actually, the show won't be animated. Actually, it turns out we've got.
Wait, this is news.
It'll be live action.
You did mention that, yeah.
Animated. We'll have animated flashbacks. So for the filler parts, we'll do animation, but the show overall will be mostly live action. So it's
interesting.
It'll be pretty cool.
Interesting. All right, it's Russ, the Big Guy, and Greg Shumsky. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.
Yep. Thanks.
This is the ballad of a guy named Jackalope Jim. He was the West's quickest draw.